makes all the difference. I want to share something with you. I saw it a number of years ago. It was the New Yorker magazine. They interviewed a fellow named Dr. Jerome Mattei. I actually heard the story from Rabbi Shais Taub, and then I looked it up. Dr. Jerome Mattei served as a forensic psychologist for the police department of San Francisco. What was his job? Unfortunately, in San Francisco, there are many suicides. His job was to go examine the evidence and make sure there was no foul play. After a full career, he was already older and retired. He already died a number of years ago. They interviewed him about his life in the New Yorker. They asked him if any story shocked him. Did he ever get shaken up? And he said, unfortunately, when you're doing this for years, you get used to it. Did anything shock you? He said once. Once he was overwhelmed, and he shared this story. He got a call from the police department in San Francisco that somebody jumped from the Golden Gate Bridge, which unfortunately is a very popular destination for people who want to take their lives. They jump from the bridge. It's usually, not always, but it's a pretty certain death, although there was somebody who survived a while ago. He gets a call from the police. Somebody jumped to his death. His job, forensic psychologist, he needs to go to the apartment, check out the environment, see the evidence, and make sure there was nothing else going on. It was really somebody taking his own life, and there was no crime. So he does that. Very predictable, unfortunately a very common job for him. He gets the address, he goes into the apartment. A man in his 30s, lived alone, middle-class building, middle-class apartment, comfortable, normal. And you go in, you look around, you see if somebody broke in, the doors, the windows, what was moved. Just, you look at everything. This is what he was trained for. He comes in, everything seems neat, no foul play. And then he notices on the dresser in the dining room, there's a note, which is not uncommon, because very often, before people do this, very often they leave notes. They leave letters or messages. So he was expecting one of these notes, and then he takes the note and he looks at it. And he said, and when I read it, I felt like a dagger in my chest. This is what the man wrote. I am walking now from my house. I am about to walk to the Golden Gate Bridge in order to jump to my death. However, this walk takes around 30 minutes. If one person on the way will greet me, say hi, and smile to me, I'm going to go back home. And Dr. Jerome Mattei said, and then I realized, he walked for 30 minutes, very busy city. Nobody said hi, and nobody smiled. And he jumped. And he said, I thought to myself, if I would have been one of the people that he walked by during those 30 minutes, would have I been different? I also would have been busy. I may have also been on my phone, texting. I may have also been occupied. I also have my problems. What's my job? To tell everybody hi because you're walking down the street? I'll tell you a personal story. This was very funny. Some of you live in Brooklyn. Not all of you, but some of you live in Brooklyn. Brooklyn has a reputation, which New York has. People are sometimes uptight, stressed, busy, and anxious. Like somebody once said, he got a ticket driving in Manhattan 50 miles per hour, but it said on the ticket, you're getting a ticket for double parking. Okay. Or somebody said, that was a joke. Somebody said, you didn't get it, it's fine. In Monroe, it doesn't work that way. In Muncie, not. Somebody said, oh, you just got it. Okay, no problem. It's fine, it's fine. It's been a long morning. You can explain it to your friend. It's part of V'ahavta l'reacha kamaycha. Explain jokes to your friends. But somebody once said the serenity prayer in New York is, God, give me patience and give it to me now. So I was once I was once walking. It was Shabbos afternoon. I was in Brooklyn, where I grew up. Today I live in Monsey. And I see two people, and I realize they're not from the community. And I don't know, I just have a custom that if I'm conscious and I'm not absent-minded and I'm present, I say hi to people. And I see these two guys walking, and I'm walking behind them, and I'm walking a little faster, and I go over to them and I say, hi, welcome to the community. I was also a guest, actually. Good Shabbos, how are you? And I see they're both astounded. So I asked them, what just happened? And they said, we just had an argument. If anybody is going to say hi to us in this community. One of us said, no, there's no chance. Nobody even knows you exist. And the other one said, don't be so pessimistic. And right after that, I said hi, because I learned it from this story and other stories. And he said, I realized what happened at that moment. And then I understood another story. Of course, it was Jews. Everything is another story. Which story? Yosef. Yosef is in prison in Parshas Vayeshev. And the Torah tells a story. One morning he came in and he saw Paro's butler and baker, Vihinam Zoyafim. You know what Zoyafim means? Azoyedin Punim. Alle weißen, was meint Azoyedin Punim? How do you say that in English? He sees two non-Jews, ministers of Paro, and they look down, depressed, melancholy, dejected, anxious, stressed. Now, if you were Chas v'Shalom, or I was in a prison cell for 10 years, in a bur, in some pit in Egypt, I'm there from the age of 18 till 30. But at this point, I'm 28, 10 years without a father, without a mother, without brothers. In fact, my brothers are responsible for this. And I see two non-Jews, who probably don't like me anyway, because they work for Paro. And they're depressed. What would I do? What would you say? Huh? Exactly. They're depressed. Of course. First of all, they're on death row. Okay. Second of all, they're in prison. I'm also depressed. And do I really care? Yosef decides to ask them a question. And the question consists of 4 words. Madua pneichem royim hayoim. What happened, guys? Why do you look down? Why are you depressed? And they tell him, we had a dream. It's always about a dream. Everybody has a dream. And Yosef says, share the dream. And he explains to them the dream. And when the butler goes free a few days later, Yosef says, remember, don't forget me. And it takes years. When Pari has a dream, the man remembers and he talks about Yosef, and Yosef is summoned. He becomes the prime minister of Egypt. The rest is history. He saves the world and the Jewish family from hunger. Think about it. He had the serenity. He was in a parasympathetic state. His nervous system was in such a parasympathetic state that he could see two people who weren't even from his faith or people and say, why are you depressed in prison? First of all, it means that he was in a pretty good place and that he cared and he helped them. And because of that, we're here today. Because of that, he was summoned to Paro. We're all here today because one Jewish kid in prison decided to ask two people in the morning, why do you look depressed? Now, I see people often in the morning, they always look depressed. You come into shul, 6, 7 in the morning. What do you think most people look like? I don't even think of asking him why he's depressed. First of all, he didn't have coffee yet. He didn't have his vitamins. He didn't go to therapy. He didn't go to the gym. He didn't deal with his stuff. Okay? His wife didn't tell him what to look like. He's still not, whatever. Of course he's mad. He's angry. You don't ask questions like just stay away and do your thing. And that's even in shul or in yeshiva. Yosef is in prison. He's like, Madua pneichem rayim hayam. What Jerome Mattei learned in San Francisco, Yosef taught us 3,600 years ago. I say this to you because you deal with people who are struggling on a daily basis. A telephone with a father, with a mother. That question of Yosef was 4 words, and it changed the world. It literally changed. We would not be sitting here today 4,000 years later if not for that question. Now, can we say that everyone who asks someone in the morning, why do you look down, will save the world like Yosef? Sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't see it, sometimes we see it right away, sometimes we see it only years later. but it has an impact beyond what anybody imagines. Yosef would have never imagined that question not only saved him, it saved his family. It saved the entire Egypt, the entire Canaan from a devastating hunger, because that's how Parai found out about it. That's why he became the prime minister of Egypt. From one question, Madua pneichem rayim ayam. So think the impact of your question. When you're on the phone with that mother, when you're on the phone with that agency, when you're on the phone with this individual, whoever it may be, going through a hard day, going through a struggle, whatever that struggle may be. Understand the avodas hakodesh. You may look at yourself, I'm a secretary. I'm a good secretary trying to do secretarial work with loyalty and consistency. And it's true. But there's always much more than what meets the eye. In fact, just a few weeks ago, I had a WhatsApp conversation with a Jew living in Israel. And I just want to tell you that this story taught me so much. It was so powerful that I decided I do my Hanukkah videos that I have to turn it into a Hanukkah story. This is a Jew who lives in the south of Israel. His name is Eliasaf Maria. Eliasaf Maria, a fine, humble Yid, a really fine person. What does he do for a profession, as a vocation? He's a tzoveya. He's a painter. A farber in Yiddish. A farber. A painter, a dyer. He dyes. You know, in the south, Hamas sent 20, 30,000 rockets. So if you're living there, you have between 5 and 20 seconds to find shelter when the sirens go off, because the rockets come over and they could fall and chas v'shalom. So they built bomb shelters almost on every block. So anybody walking, they have 5, 10 seconds, 20 seconds to run into a bomb shelter. Now these bomb shelters look very depressing. They're gloomy. They're, concrete. So a mother and children are there for an hour until it's safe, and it's very hard. So what did Eliasaf do? He painted each one with colorful pictures, so that when the kids are there, mothers are there, fathers are there, for a half an hour, 20 minutes, an hour, at least there should be some geschmacke vibe. There should be some colorful vibe. Remind them that there's a world out there that's more lively and joyous as the rockets are falling all around them. And he painted each one with a different color and with a different personality, with a different murals. One, he has a girl chasing butterflies. One is a beautiful mountain and a majestic animal and a breathtaking sunset and a beautiful sunrise and an exquisite landscape and a majestic beast. Whatever it is, just kids laughing, a girl laughing, a boy laughing. Each one, a different painting, a different mural. He took his palette and his brush and he went from shelter to shelter dyeing it. That would have been the end of the story, and everybody loved Eliasaf and thought he was a really nice guy. But the story had a continuation. October 7th comes. That's Simchas Torah, Tavshin Pei Gimel, October 7th, 2023. 6:15 a.m., 3,000 rockets come in from the Hamas in Gaza. And everybody runs in to a bomb shelter. And anyone in that area ran into a bomb shelter. There was a music festival, thousands of people, they all ran into bomb shelters. They didn't know that a few minutes later, 6,000 terrorists will come in and start performing a mini Holocaust. Hashem Yinkem Damam. Eliasaf shared this with me. The next morning, he starts receiving urgent WhatsApps. From whom? The police, family members, and relatives. Their relatives sent them a message. They are hiding in a bomb shelter. Please rescue us. The relatives say, what's the address? They say, we don't know. Is there any identifying sign? Sure, we can tell you the picture that's painted on the wall. He sent me some of the messages. They took pictures of the pictures and they WhatsApped it to their friends, relatives, or police. They're asking Eliasaf, can you help us locate these people? There's no address. Eliasaf knew the location of each one of these shelters because he knew which picture he painted on each one. So he could direct every single one of them to the right bomb shelter. When they came there, some of them were not here anymore, some of them were saved, but all of them and their families can get all of their belongings. They knew exactly where everyone was. And then I realized, if you would have asked Eliasaf October 6th, what do you do for a living? He would have said, I'm just a painter. I'm a simple painter. 2 days later, he realized that he was a saver of lives. He helped so many people. And then I realized something else. Most people don't know what they're doing. I think I'm a painter. That's what I am. Yosef is just asking a simple question. Hey guys, why are you depressed? He doesn't know what he's doing. He's a nice guy. He doesn't know that at that moment, he's saving the entire world from hunger. And then I realized something else. The Mishnah says in Sanhedrin that every person ought to say, for me the world was created. We sometimes think it's a little bit of an exaggeration. I'm just a regular, simple man or woman. I mean, I'm trying to be nice, but for me the world was created. But then I realized, think about Eliasaf. You know, if the police or the relatives or the friends would have called anybody besides Eliasaf, they could have called the head of the police, they could have called the head of Shabak, the head of the Mossad, the head of Amman, the chief of staff, the defense minister, the prime minister, any general and commander. Nobody would be able to help them. There was only one man who could save the day. He was the only one who knew where each shelter was because he did the murals. I said, there was something only he can achieve, nobody else could. I said, that's what Chazal mean when they say, Chayav kol echad loima b'shvili nivra olam. There's something that only you, me, him or her can accomplish in this world that nobody before you or afterwards in history can accomplish. Not because I'm the greatest person who ever lived, but because when you were born, Hashem gives you a mission and you are an indispensable note in the cosmic symphony, and there's something at stake in the universe that only you can achieve through your life, through your presence, through your palette and brush, through the colors and the pictures that you create, through your words and thoughts and actions on a daily basis. But he could have never guessed this. He could have never known this. Just like Yosef Hatzadik could have never known this. The heart that you put into the relationships, to the work in Re'im,